Hey, happy Friday the 13th, kids. Don't get too wild and crazy. Drive your parents too nuts. But this is Mrs. Sullivan for Social Studies. So today, actually, we kind of skip things around a little bit. If you paid attention, we need to make sure you complete Thursday's warm-up. If you did yesterday's lesson, you should now have the answer to that. So you're going to answer Thursday's warm-up. And then you need to get out your ancient Egypt notes. We're going to go to section 6. So if you can get that stuff ready. So Thursday's warm-up asked, what is one thing that Ramses the Great is known for? So he was known for being one of the last great rulers of Egypt. He was known for building lots of temples and building projects, and he had more temples built for him and more statues for him than anyone else in Egypt. He was known as also signing the very first peace treaty that the world believes ever happened. And he was known for being very great in battle. So any of those would work as an answer. Now today, our objective is to identify and explain the achievements of ancient Egyptians. We also are going to kind of look at the kingdom south of Kush, add that in there and at least be able to answer some questions about them. And how we're going to do that is we are going to listen, copy, and discuss notes over the achievements of ancient Egyptians, look through a few pictures, and then there is an Edpuzzle to finish us off today over the Kush of Nubia. You'll know you've got it when you can give an example of at least one Egyptian achievement and can show why the Kush were important by answering the Edpuzzle questions correctly. Let's get started. So for your section 6 notes today, you're looking at kind of the last page of the notes. Right now, we're skipping that section 5. I'm not going to do the notes for that. It's just we're going to talk about the Kush and the Edpuzzle. And we are going to get the notes for this last section right here. So some of the things that the Egyptians became very well known for and their achievements would be hieroglyphics. So hieroglyphics are just the Egyptian writing system used using symbols. They have found more than 600 symbols being used, meaning different things. One thing that's very unique about hieroglyphics is that it can be written in any direction. So you do kind of have to figure that out. So it can be horizontal or vertical, so top to bottom or bottom to top. And it can be from left to right to left. So you got to be able to figure out what they're saying, depending on what direction it is. And then here are just some examples of what some of those symbols look like. Another item is papyrus. So papyrus is a long-lasting paper-like material that's made from reeds. So the picture on the left would be the reeds that they used to make the papyrus, and the papyrus example is on the right. This is believed to kind of be the first idea that gave us the paper that we have today. So this would be like the world's first version of paper. We also have the Rosetta Stone. So the Rosetta Stone was actually something that was done after the Egyptians, but it was a stone slab found in 1799. And that is the example of it. That is the actual Rosetta Stone. And it allowed for people to read hieroglyphics. So it deciphered the hieroglyphics for us. Before this, we could not read the hieroglyphics. We didn't know what it was saying. But there's kind of 3 different sections. You can see that in the picture. But it had the exact same story written in 3 different languages. At the top, you have hieroglyphics, and then you had Greek, and then you had Egyptian. And since people could read Egyptian and people could read Greek, it was the same exact story in those languages. And then they used those 2 things to decipher the hieroglyphics that were on there. So that enabled us to start to begin to understand all of these things that the Egyptians had written down. Very big find. And it's why you have that language program named after it now. Another thing is the Book of the Dead. So the Book of the Dead isn't the Egyptians didn't put a book together, but it's the name that was given to the stories, the pictures, the hymns, and the instructions about the afterlife. Most of the Book of the Dead are found on scrolls of papyrus, or they are written in the tombs of the pharaohs or in the temples. So these are just some examples here. And then you have the pyramids. The pyramids would also be a big feat. We talked about those a little bit yesterday. Here are the pyramids at Giza. You've got the 3 for the pharaohs, the largest being the middle one for Khufu, and then the 3 in the front for the wives. Now, this is actually how it looks from the air. A lot of the pictures make it look like they're super close together and right on top of each other, but they are not. So here are the 3 queen. And then you have these 3 different ones, with this one being Khufu. Now, you may notice all right here is the big, huge city. So that is that is Cairo, which is currently the capital city of Egypt. And so here's kind of the Nile going through here. You can see how close the city is actually getting to those pyramids now. Here's just a little, this is closer up, how those look. This is the inside depiction of what it is. There's a king's chamber where Khufu was. This is kind of the inside of part of it, the pathway leading into it. And then where they believe this would be where Khufu was his resting place. But here's another picture. You've got the Sphinx guarding the tombs of the pharaohs. Again, protector. And then outside of the pyramids were boat pits, and there were numerous ones found, but that's one of the pits. And then here's what those boats look like. Some of them were broken up and had to be put back together, but this is what the boats of Egypt would have looked like back then. Another achievement would be the temples, and here are a couple that were built by Ramses II. So this is Abu Simbel. I showed you kind of a picture of it yesterday, but here's different depictions of it. You got the outside of it at the top, 2 different sections outside, and then 2 different entrances, and then you have the inside here down at the bottom. And those are all statues of Ramses because he was pretty important. This is the temple at Luxor, or Thebes, as was once the capital city of Egypt, also built by Ramses II, also having lots of statues of Ramses II. But these are all different depictions of that. And then you have the Karnak temple not far away from Luxor, or Thebes. But this is just, again, what some of these temples look like today. You also have the Sphinx. So you had the very large Sphinx with the human head that was guarding the Great Pyramids. You have the true Sphinx guarding most of the entryways to the temples, and this is what those look like. And then usually on both sides of the gates or entryways would also be obelisks. And these are your obelisks. That should look familiar if you've seen pictures of Washington, D.C. So the Egyptians were one of the first ones to build an obelisk as that way. So we actually got the idea from them. And we have our Washington Monument in D.C. that looks very much the same. You also have the Valley of the Kings. This is a map depicting where all of the different tombs have been found and who is in which tomb. This is what it looks like from the air when you're looking at it. Like all through here in this valley is where the tombs are found. You can kind of start seeing the pathways that have been made. And then closer up, you get to the entryway there to some different tombs. So some of the things that weren't mentioned in there, one big thing, especially ladies, one of the things the Egyptians were also well known for is the introduction of makeup. So a lot of them wore makeup. Even the pharaohs wore makeup, and they would really outline their eyes. So that is of interest for a lot of your makeup. You can kind of think the idea of the Egyptians. And then now what we're going to do is you need to complete today's warm up over the ancient Egyptian achievements and name one of them. Put that in there. And you're going to submit your warm up at that point. And then you're going to go back to today's module and you're going to complete the Ed puzzle over the Kush and Nubia civilization, which was a civilization south of Egypt that was also pretty powerful during that time period. If you get that done and you have time, if you have missing work, work on that and get that taken care of. If you have any questions for me, please email me and let me know, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Have a fantastic weekend.